Hakuo listeners, let's learn sumo. I'm Clayton. Welcome to the podcast. Don't forget, join me on Instagram, X, or YouTube, where my podcast is restreamed. You can join me, ask me questions on YouTube. That's probably the best place. Welcome to the post-Basho review, Osaka Grand Sumo Tournament 2025. We have just finished the tournament. Welcome to my fellow host, Ron, from fellow couch commentator from Sunday Morning Sumo, live from California. Hello, Ron.
Hey, good. I'll say good evening, but good afternoon to you, Clayton.
Yes, Ron has just discovered that Australia is a contradiction of time zones, both, and a long and dirty story about daylight saving in Queensland versus the rest of the east coast of Australia. So we've now sorted.
Yep.
So Ron, give us a bit of a story. How did you get into sumo? What's the sumo story for Ron?
Oh, for me. Okay. So many years ago, ESPN, because they were searching for just about any content to put on TV that wasn't going to cost them a whole lot of money, started
Sounds like
putting
Australian
sumo.
television.
Yeah, started putting sumo on. It wasn't live matches, but it was like an hour-long highlight show that they would show of the bashos. And this was about the same time when the Hawaiians came in. And
Okay, so
hey, we've got U.S. citizens, doing well in
Konishiki
sumo.
and Mushimaru and
Yeah. And so, I started watching that, and then it dropped off. So for a while, I really didn't, follow religiously, which I now regret because I missed the whole Hakuho period. That would have been just incredible to watch.
What a golden period of sumo.
Yeah.
But I do have a Hakuho story.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And about a year and a half ago, I was just kind of trolling through YouTube, and I saw this, hey, Sunday Morning Sumo Show. And I thought, I'll give it a watch.
Oh, awesome. See, I came to sumo probably well over maybe 14 years ago. I do know that it was about 2010, 11. I was actually in Japan visiting a friend, and a friend's took me to the sumo at the Kokugikan, and we sat in a box seat. I knew absolutely nothing about sumo, but I do know that Hakuho won that tournament after going back and looking at the notes once I got into it. So and of course, like a lot of people around the world, it's really difficult to watch sumo overseas, but the advent of YouTube and restreamers who are a bit careful make it a little bit easier to watch these days. How do you find, like, obviously it's very late at night for you to watch it. How does that affect your watching?
So I'm kind of lucky because I'm retired. So basically what I do is I will stay up, watch the sumo, commentate with Goose at times when he needs me to. And it finishes about 2 a.m. my time. And then I can sleep in. I don't know how JJ does it. Because
poor old JJ, it's the fellow commentator on Sunday Morning Sumo. He's up at the same time in Canada, probably 1 a.m. every night of the Basho, 15 days commentating, and I'm not sure how he does it.
Yeah, I mean, because he has to get up again in the morning to go into work. So that's how I managed to deal with it. I mean, if I had a regular job where I had to get up at like 7 a.m. in order to get ready to go to work, I would probably have to watch the highlights that NHK puts up.
So out of all that time, who's your favorite wrestler? Your favorite Richie?
It's got to be Ura. I would pay to watch that man wrestle anywhere.
It's just so exciting.
Yeah. You just never know what's going to happen. Even when he does conventional, it's like, well, that was different.
Which is interesting. He was very conventional, a bit more conventional at times in this tournament. We'll get into that a bit later.
Yeah. And, and to be one of the two wrestlers in the official JSA listings who is noted as having an unconventional style, which we all know our man from outer space, and you just watch him and you just go, okay. Even when he gets flipped out of the ring, I think I counted 6 or 7 times he somersaulted himself out of the ring.
It is an interesting technique when he goes out of the ring or when he goes over. obviously he has roots in Greco-Roman wrestling, and I call him Ura the Acrobat. But I think in the end, the somersaults he does and the way he goes about, losing sometimes, has actually probably protected him in terms of flying out of the ring where people hurt their ankles and knees. I think that's partly a self-protection technique.
Yeah, that's one of the things. What was it? I think Stan, when he was on this Basho with JJ, was
Yep.
talking about Ura and had mentioned that because Ura was small in high school,
Yep.
he didn't do sumo. They wouldn't let him do sumo, so he did do Greco-Roman wrestling and he did gymnastics.
Mm.
And the first thing they teach you in gymnastics is how to fall.
How to fall, how to roll.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Clayton. I think the fact that he is able to get himself in a position where he doesn't come down hard. Remember last boss show, who was it? Was it Mace who fell on his hip so bad that we all thought
Yes.
that was it? He was gone.
Mm.
Again, and that's in any sport where you have hard contact. People who know how to fall and hit the ground right tend to have a longer career than people who just splat.
Yeah, no, I suppose a lot of people have over the time talked about the height difference of the dojo to the alley beside it, and that's obviously causing injury. But it has ever been thus in sumo, obviously, and I don't see them changing. So. Great tournament, Osaka, won by Ozeki Onosato, 12-3 in the regular matchup. Playoff win against the perennial favourite and bridesmaid, the hairy bridesmaid of all time, Takayasu, who unfortunately lost that playoff. What's your feelings, other than perhaps tears for Takayasu in the final wash-up?
Great win for Onosato. He actually had a very close loss to Takayasu his first time around. I think if he just kept pushing forward during the regular match instead of trying to do the dance, he would have been easily 13-2. And I think with his other loss where he tried to do the dance again at the bales instead of just continuing to push, he might have been 14-1.
It's an
the other
interesting
thing,
point you make, yeah, about Onosato.
Yeah.
I think my criticism of his style is always about him going backwards. He just, for whatever reason, when he chooses to go backwards, it's normally like it's a high percentage loss rate for him. And I don't think I've seen too many matches where his retreating style has worked.
Yeah, and it's something that for a guy that's as big as he is, I mean, he's almost as tall as I am, and he's 100 pounds heavier. And he has no business trying to go backwards. I mean, his is all in. Okay, just use that mass and that strength, push forward, and just keep pushing forward. The other thing that's great about Onosato, and I saw this today watching Chris Sumo, he brought up the point that Onosato has 3 Yushos in 6 Bashos. And in the last 20 years, the only other people who have done that have been Hakuho Terunofuji and Asashoryu. Pretty good company to be in.
And his worst performance in Mikuchi is 9-6, which is incredible. To make it to Ozeki and have your worst performance be some people's best performance ever is quite the thing. I mean, so if you look at his schedule, like 12-3 this time, 10-5 in January was seen as almost a fail for him, and same in 9-6 in November. The 13-2 Yusho in September, which had obviously the great Wakataka Kage fight. He's picking up some incredible performances and is rightly now to be considered on a rope run, a Yokozuna run.
Yes, and in fact, Chris Sumo brought up that 2 of the very senior selection committee members, including the head of the committee, have basically stated that if Onosato has a good showing in May, which to me indicates if he goes at least Junyu show, he will likely be named a Yokozuna.
I would think anything less than a 13-2 Junyu show might not see him there, or say a 12-3 with the three-way playoff again, maybe.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think if he junior shows, it's going to have to be 13-2. But you know what, Clayton? I don't see anyone going 14. I don't see another Kazak run in May.
No, I
he's
don't
really,
see a lot of 14-1s at the moment. I think the
yeah,
competition and the competitiveness of the Sanyaku alone and that upper Magashira makes a 14-1 a really difficult prospect. And if you can pull out a 14-1, you're really at the top of your game.
yeah, because I've already, I've kind of put together a guess at what the Banzuke is going to be, and I mean, right now it looks like, and we'll talk about more of it, some of the reasoning behind some of the guesses where they are in a little bit. But obviously Hoshoryu at Yokozuna, Onosato and Kotozakura, they maintain their positions. Daisho maintains his. I think Kirishima will get the Sekiwake, and then it's going to be Takayasu and Wakataka Kage. I mean, that is a tough group of guys. There will be spoilers in there.
Yeah, I mean, Kirishima punching out an 8 and 7 is, most people would say that's a fail for him, but I think he's clearly struggling. We'll get to him in a moment. Takayasu himself, I think he was showing again what a class wrestler Takayasu is, and the only time he really gets that losing record is when he's injured. I think a healthy, fit Takayasu is a very dangerous wrestler for all of them. 9 Junyushos now, 9 runner-ups, 13 special trophies, 6 Kinboshi, highest rank of Ozeki debuted 20 years ago, 2005. He must have been a baby. 771 wins, 579 losses, 156 absences over 119 basho. That's quite a history, even without a Yusho. That's quite a significant.
It's a fantastic career, and I was torn because Onosato's one of my homies, to use the SMSS. But Takayasu, just such a great story, and I like watching him. You're right; he is a class act. He comes in, he gives you a good sumo bout every time, and if it hadn't been for injuries, he would have been a guy that we would have said, okay, we would have had 2 Yokozuna, with Terunofuji and Takayasu.
And I think that's fair that given what you see, if you look at his record when he's healthy, he always punches out a great record when he's healthy. It's only the injuries that hold him back. And I mean, he had a fairly hard run throughout this tournament. Probably my favorite match of his this tournament, and which really showed his power, was his win over Wakamoto Haru. He just pounded away on Wakamoto Haru. And Waka tried, but he just got smashed and smashed back to Bales and over. It was quite the win. I think he kind of lost power in a similar way. He was fighting against Tobizaru, but it just went on so long. He finally gave up the ghost.
Yeah, I think that's where his endurance just went. And that was one of the things I was looking at too, is that I thought that if it did come down to a playoff between Onosato and Takayasu, is that, doing 2 matches in one day, it was going to be tough for Takayasu.
Even Hoshoryu said that when he did the playoff, when he did 3 matches in one day. Now, Hoshoryu is probably the least bulky of some of those guys. He is incredibly strong, but even he said he was so exhausted after 3 matches, he slept most of the next day.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing. I even talked with Goose about it. I said, well, Goose, how is it so tiring for him when they do these training matches where they'll do 19, 20 matches in a day? And he brought up a good point. He said, they're just not the same intensity. And when you go, and I know from my own experience of having played football and watching my sons play, there's practice intensity and then there's game intensity. And it does step up a notch, And that's one of the things I was looking at and kept thinking is that, okay, Takayatsu is going to be at a disadvantage. I mean, Onosato, quite a bit younger. And, that was going to help him out when they did come into the playoff. But yeah, it would have been great to see him cap his career with a Yusho.
I think I got a few comments after Sunday's final episode that there were some tears. People had gone to bed with their teddy bear and some tears due to him losing. Now, Abi on the final day tried to Henka Takayasu.
Yep.
And Chiyoshima Henka'd the Yokozuna. What's your view? Henka, dog act, or fair play?
It's in the rules. You're allowed to do it. People don't like it. It's not in the spirit of what it is. But if the committee and the JSA decided that they really felt it was detrimental to sumo, they would have outlawed it years ago.
Yes, it's interesting. It is a cultural. I think people, particularly people who are new to sumo, need to understand Japanese culture. And I've been going back and forth to Japan for many, many years, and I only briefly scraped the surface of Japanese culture. But the one thing they do is conformity. Conformity is a big thing. And that cultural aspect of sumo is so embedded in the sport that probably the one that shocked me more was Chiyoshima doing the Henka to Hoshoryu. It is known as, like, whilst everyone Henkas and they accept that, there's one thing you don't do is you don't Henka the Yokozuna. So I was really shocked to see him do that on like I've always said that Henka it's a valid thing. I think, for example, someone like Ichi Yamamoto, someone like Abi, who comes out really strong with the double Nodowa, flies out of the tachi-ai. Hirodumi, who is super fast out of the tachi-ai. I think it's valid for people to try and Henka them on occasion because it just throws that element of doubt in their mind next time they're fighting this person as to how fast I'm going to come out of the tachi-ai. I need to just pause and kind of consider how I'm going to come out of the tachi-ai instead of just assuming that you're going to blast out every time. And that's, to me, it's a very valid technique, but you're still stepping over, say, 1,500 years of cultural aspect where you shouldn't gets in the way.
Yeah, there's respect for the elders, but there's also, I think, the cultural aspect of Japanese, I'll say, military culture, which has often relied on misdirection, and the surprise attack in order to, start combat. And so, what's more of a surprise attack than to say, I'm just stepping out of the way and giving you a little shove to keep going. So that's why I look at it as, the Henka, it's something that can create I'll say, a lot of discussion among people, but you have to respect that the people that are at that level are very experienced. And if they get caught by a Henka, they at some point have to also recognize, I should have been expecting that. I've seen this person wrestle enough. I think I remember, what was it? Not this basho, but one or two bashos ago, Hoshoryu got Henka'd by somebody. I can't remember who. And he just came up with this look of self-disgust on his face. I knew that was coming.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I can see the junior guys coming up. Yeah, they don't know the styles of some of the older guys. They're still trying to learn how to read, the positioning. Certainly they should be looking at it and going, okay, I'm going to get caught out by this. But the other part I look at too is that if you're looking at, okay, you're someone Midori Fuji size and you got someone Onosato size across from you, you are not going to go into a full-on, all right, I'm just going to belly up to this guy and push him out of the way. You have to say, the only way I'm going to get him is I've got to move laterally as fast as possible, grab his arm and toss him and hope he goes out.
You could say, like, Midori Fuji occasionally does go head-to-head stupidly. I think his tactics sometimes leave a bit to be desired, but in someone like Midori Fuji's case, he's trying to get inside hard and fast to get under the shoulder. But I think you look at, say, I think it was Tobizaru who hankered Hoshoryu back last year sometime. There must be tells that people are looking for, like that little foot movement, that little shoulder pivot or something early, and that's where perhaps Hoshoryu, is dirty on himself and not actually picking something like that up.
Well, that's one of the things, that we were always taught to look out for. I was an offensive lineman. And it's okay when you see the defensive lineman across from you, do you see that there's real pressure on his fingers? Okay, he's going to shoot straight into you or try to shoot the gap between you and the player next to you. So you have to be prepared for that. If you see he's light on his fingers and he's rocked back on his heels a little bit, it's going to be okay. Either he's going to move laterally sideways or he's going to stand up and, either drop back into the defense or he's going to try a different move on you. So, yeah, there are tells. Yeah, you have to look for it. And that's why I think some of the guys who look for the, say, fake their opponent out into making a mata.
Yes.
Just to see, okay, this is how they moved off the line, especially if it's an opponent they haven't fought before. Again, the whole strategy of use everything that's available to you. And, not something people like, seeing matas occur. And the wrestlers know it. I mean, that's why you always see them, nod their heads to the shimpai, especially the head shimpai, and to their opponent saying, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." Although I did see one of the lower ranks this basho. Oh, the guy who did it was just enormous. I mean, I think he had to be 230 kilos.
I think I saw it. He fair pounded his opponent back on his bum, and he then he looked like he was going to lose the match. I watched the match after it, and it looked like he was going to move, but he actually got the win. I didn't think he deserved it, to be honest. I think you find, and you watch some of these guys in the lower divisions who come into sumo because they are really large. Their mobility is awful, and you see someone like Uratora, who's one of the perennial Jonathan boys, just spin them in circles because they just have no mobility and no balance.
Yeah.
But he fair clouted that boy in that mata, and I think it might have been a little bit personal, maybe.
Yeah, and I think I remember I brought it up to Goose, and we looked at it before we went on air, and I said, Goose, can they disqualify somebody? And he said, it would have to be egregious. Someone would have to be injured out of the mata.
I would suggest that would be something that he would have gotten a good talking to from one of the Oyakata shimpans, I think you'll find.
Yes, yeah, I would imagine. But that's what I look at. Yeah, you have to look for those tells. And the other thing too is if these wrestlers aren't watching film of their opponents, of their bouts, to see, okay, what are the moves they tend to go to? They're not making use, you're a guy that likes to, track all the statistics, you have your spreadsheets. I do the same thing. And when I coached, at youth teams and stuff, I mean, I would go through and look at, at the scorebooks, see, okay, what are the batting statistics? What are the pitching statistics? Looking at, all the things that you say, and you can look at and say, okay, how can I look at this data and say, all right, what's good information I can pull out of this? And you saw this like in professional Major League Baseball. It started sometime around the 1980s. I mean, pitchers were always known to keep a book on the batters, to say, okay, it looks like this guy likes this. You started with like Oral Hershiser of the Dodgers. A couple other pitchers really started keeping detailed books. I mean, every pitch they were recording.
I don't know that sumo has entered that sort of professional level. I know there was a documentary recently on one of the young lads who was coming in. His schooling from, say, 15, 20 years ago. And one of the things the Oyakata did was sit the boys down and show them video. It's clear, however, that Hoshoryu, either has not watched the video, has not watched the video recently against Arby, because Arby did exactly what Arby does, which was come out of the Tachi super fast, big double Nottawa, and drove Hoshoryu back and over. It was like, I'm sorry, Hoshoryu, did you not watch the video?
Yeah, I mean, this is Abi every time. I mean, Abi's going to do one of two things.
Yeah.
He's going to do that blast Tachi with a huge
Yep.
amount of Nottawa. I mean, he's got very long arms.
Yep.
He recognizes that's an advantage to him. Or he's going to Henka.
Mm.
I mean, it's one or the other. He really doesn't do much else in between. And yeah, for Hoshoryu, I was just stunned when I saw what Abi did to him in that first match.
Look, it was a really fast Tachi. I think Hoshoryu he lost one last basho, I think, because someone got off the Tachi really fast, and it was.
I think it was Hiradoumi. I remember that one. Yeah, it was like everybody was waiting for the mata to be called, and
yes. And Hiradoumi is known as that really fast, super fast Tachi specialist. So yeah, the video is certainly, I think, a lot more there. But it's clear some of them. Anyone who faces Midori Fuji who hasn't watched him Karasakashi people, you must look at them and go, why did you let him inside? Why did you? Yeah. And some of them have watched it, and then you watch their eyes as they know that Midori Fuji's hand goes up under their shoulder, and suddenly you see them panic. You can see the panic in their eyes as they go, oh no.
Yeah, he's going for that. He's going for that arm grab. I mean, and you know, and that's one of the things I've seen is that his opponents know it's coming, and yet he still consistently pulls it off. I mean, I look at him as I think he's the second best pure wrestler in the current Makauchi behind Ura, but he doesn't have Ura's craziness. You know, I'm not saying he's the best wrestler overall because obviously the record doesn't show it. But as far as a pure wrestler of using wrestling moves, grabbing the arm, you know, not just
it's amazing leverage.
Not using just straight oshidashi all the time. You know, he's right up there with you know, I think with Ura as far as using wrestling. You know, what you think of like Greco-Roman wrestling moves. You know, and when you look at it, I mean, he's Midori Fuji, he's not a big guy. I mean,
he's only about 100 I think he's about 115 kilograms, which is not large in terms of wrestlers, but he's there. Asakoryu, I think Nishki's not much in front of him. Funnily enough, Tamashoho in Juryo is very close to the weight of those guys. He's only about 115, 120 kilos himself. And I quite like Tamashoho. I'd like to see him improve a bit when he comes up. So have a second go.
Yep, have another shot at it.
So Kodazakura, not a great tournament for Kodazakura. It really struggled a little bit. It's clear that knee injury is still there. Did escape Kataban status, so he returns to full Ozeki 8 and 7. I don't see him improving massively in May unless he gets whatever's happening in that knee cleaned up, which might cost him a basho, and it might be the idea for him. Go and get it cleaned up and take a basho off.
Yeah, because at worst he gets hit with a kataban.
Yes.
And he can come back. Yeah, I've looked at it and I've been commenting to Goose ever since the start of the January basho that I thought something was wrong with Kodazakura's knee, just because I have enough experience with my own. That, you know, knowing what it is. And I think it was great heart, great effort by Kodazakura to avoid the kataban. I mean, he split his first 5 matches, 2 wins, 3 losses, and then he went on a strong run of 3 wins. And then he had 2 losses, then 3 more wins, and then I think he took the last 2 matches off.
Yes.
I mean, you know.
It's a shame that day 15 against Onosato, it really did look like he'd, I wouldn't say taken the match off, but he certainly had no defense there to be driven back by Onosato. Yeah. It was quite the easy. If you're going to look at an easy win for a day 15 for the basho to put yourself in a playoff, that was probably one of the easier ones that Onosato could have had.
Yeah. And when I say taking He took the matches off. It wasn't like he threw the matches. It was,
No, no.
you're not going to put the all-out pressure on your left leg to preserve trying to get the win or to keep from being defeated. You're going to say, okay, I already have what I need to continue to be an Ozeki. I need to repair my knee or do whatever needs to be done to it before the May Basho. I've only got 6 weeks to do this in, and therefore don't overstrain it. I think, and again, I'm not a medical doctor, but as I say, I've had enough knee surgeries and 2 knee replacements to kind of have a pretty strong idea, is that Kotazakura probably has a meniscus tear and or floating cartilage in his knee.
I'd be surprised if he didn't.
Yeah, and this kind of injury can come and go. I mean, literally it could be one day your knee feels great, and then the next day the meniscus flap flips over, or a piece of cartilage gets into a position where it kind of semi-locks on the knee. And
I think anyone over the
Yeah.
age of 50 can speak to those, holy moly, what did I do to myself while I was asleep injury.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember when I went in for my first arthroscopic on my left leg, and I remember my orthopedic surgeon said, yeah, you played football, you were a lineman, you're a big guy. I see guys like you coming in all the time. And it isn't that you tear out your ligaments, it's that all that pushing is pretty much you destroy the meniscus and cartilage. And that's one of the reasons why I keep saying Tamawashi is a medical, miracle.
Yes, miracle.
I mean, 21-year career, no knee issues.
It's insane. I mean, I know Ura had an injury there early, and he's come back from that. Maybe, like I said, he's employed those techniques to try and reduce that. Daisho now sitting at 20 wins over 2 bashos, looking for, I think he needs 13 in May to guarantee himself a consideration for Ozeki promotion. Our perennial Sekiwake. Look, a pretty good tournament, not too bad for Daisho. I'm a big fan of him, but I do sometimes think that I call it a threshing machine, like a good old hay thresher. That threshing style sometimes doesn't work for him. It can be a little bit one-dimensional.
Yeah, people can get a read on him, and I agree. I mean, you can't say a 9-6 is a bad, basho. I mean, you've got 3 more wins than losses. But I think if he was going to preserve that run to the Ozeki, 2 more wins was going to be huge for him. To get 13 wins in May, that says, okay, you're either going to be the Yusho or you're going to be the Junior show.
A couple of those were a little bit unlucky, though. And I suppose I say unlucky. He got like deflection hits, which put him off balance. But I think in that style of fighting, where you're throwing Supari thrusting out that hard, that fast, and that often, occasionally you're going to miss, and you're going to get a side hit, a parry from your opponent who knows it's coming. So not so much unlucky, I suppose, as risk of the game.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's your style. And as you said, I remember the one match where he kind of sideslipped, and I can't remember if it was Midori Fuji or if it was Tobizaru who it was with. But then it was just a quick side hit, and he was gone and out. I think one of the interesting scenarios for Daisho, and this would be really off the wall because the selection committee hasn't shown that they've been willing to do this, from what I've been able to see, at least of the records, for about the last 10 years, but they have done it in the past, is 33 is not an absolute.
No, it's not.
They have done 31 and they have done 32. I think it would be interesting is that if Onosato does promote up to Yokozuna and they want this, 2-2-2-2, situation at the top, they might say, okay, Kotazakura, you did good enough. You're going to go to 01 East, and Daisho, congratulations, you get your fish, and you're going to go to 01 West.
Look, I think his long history as a Sekiwake would say yes. I think his history over the past perhaps 12 months, whilst they've all been generally Kachikoshi, I think he punched out a Makekoshi 6 and 9 in March last year. Otherwise, all Kachikoshi, but 8 and 7, 8 and 7. I would probably caution that another 10 double-digit tournament would be needed before they even started looking in that way.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think it'd have to be a minimum of 12 wins.
Yeah.
And again, throw a Junior Show in on that. That might get him.
Someone else who was a bit unlucky this tournament, Oho Sekiwake, his first go at Sekiwake, 6 and 9 Makikoshi, a little bit unlucky. Probably didn't quite settle into that position. Did get a win over Onosato, though, at a crucial moment of the tournament.
Yeah, that was a surprise win because I expected Onosato was going to take him out on that match. But I have to say, I thought he was over promoted to the Sekiwake position in the March Basho. And here's the reason why. I mean, he had a great January Basho. He went 12 and 3. Yep. But he was at M3 West. Kirishima was at M1 West. Kirishima went 11 and 4. And had been up at that Sekiwake position.
I think they've given him that over promotion because he made it to the playoff. And to be honest, that playoff match with Hoshoryu, I have that on my list of one of the fights of the year so far. It was of its own. It was a really, really good fight.
Right, but one fight doesn't make a career.
No, it doesn't. No.
And I thought they were going to give it to Kirishima because they were going to say, okay, he's been Ozeki before. He's been strong in that position. He had injury. That's why he came down out of it. That they would put him over Oho and say, okay, Oho, prove to us at the Komusubi position that you can, do this.
Well, speaking of Kirishima, he's likely hitting 8 and 7. He's likely to go from Komusubi East up to Sekiwake West in May. Still a bit sketchy. I think he's had a bit of a reoccurrence of that neck/shoulder injury, and I think tactically, some of his tactics this time really, he didn't have a lot of backup plans.
Yeah, he looked like he was surprised when it was like his first moves didn't work.
Yes.
But I do think he's going to get the Sekiwake unless the Banzuke just sets precedent. It was brought up Sumo Spiffy. I mean, he just about blew the top of his head off trying to figure this one out.
So your prediction sheet, are you saying Kirishima Sekiwake?
Yes. And the reason is, and I just picked it because I said, okay, you know what? You're a Komusubi, which is one of the toughest positions to be in. Yep. You had a, 8 and 7 winning record. You deserve to go up. I mean, and one of the things Sumo Spiffy brought up was he said the Banzuke, as far as he could look at, has never bypassed a Komusubi who won and was able to be promoted up to Sekiwake.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. People might look at 8 and 7 and go, oh, it's not very good. But the simple fact is it's a winning record. So you're not going to demote somebody on a winning record. You're not going to promote someone over a Komusubi from Megashira to Sekiwake very easily, and particularly a former Ozeki. I think he's earned the right to go back up to Sekiwake.
Yeah, and they do have some precedents on that because everybody's going to say, "Oh, wow, I mean Takayasu, he's a Junyusho. He was a 12 and 3, lost in the playoff. Okay, but he was an M4. Okay." I mean, and that is basically 1, 2, 3, 4 levels below Kirishima. You go back to November of 24. Wakatakakage, 12 and 3 at M7. looks like he should definitely be going up into, Komosubi, if not possibly Sekawake. And where does he end up? Oh, M2.
Mm. It's
You know,
it is a black art, the Banzuke, and I don't
yeah,
claim to. I've tried a few times, and I think I listened to another podcast. Some sumo boys were talking about. Might have been the Grand Sumo Breakdown. I think some guys I listen to occasionally. One of the guys came on and did the Banzuke explanation for why he chose what he did for March, and it was the most detailed breakdown of who fought who, percentages, rank percentages, and I'm like, I don't have time for that. A man's got to work. A man's got a job.
yeah, yeah. It's like, I love how, Goose puts it. It's 12 guys, 12 old guys sitting in a
Yep.
room who likely have CTE and alcoholism issues. Yes. Deciding who's going to move where.
And
But
as they'll have a lot of experience, but I'm sure there's a little bit of bugger it that'll do.
yeah, yeah. And so that's why I look at, okay, Kitashima, he did good enough to get the promotion up. I do think
Yes.
Takayasu is going to get recognized for his Junyu show and for the great basho that he had, that he will get Komosubi 1 East. And that Wakataka Kage, again, this was another thing that was brought up by Sumo Spiffy. They have very rarely, if ever, not promoted an M1E up to Komosubi when they've had a winning record. And although both Wakataka Kage and Wakamoto Haru both had 9.6s, Wakataka Kage was the M1E, Wakamoto Haru was the M1 West. Wakamoto Haru draws the short straw this time.
Well,
he's the guy.
So hear me out. Hear me out, Ron.
Yeah.
I'm saying that Wakataka Kage goes to Sekiwake 2 East, Wakamoto Haru goes to Komosubi East, and Takayasu goes to Komosubi West.
That could happen, although they're going to ever really unbalance and say that they'll go with 3 Sekiwakes. They seem to have been stuck on this. Hey, we've got
on 2 for a while. Yes. No.
Yeah. At least at the Ozeki, Sekiwake, and Komosubi level, they seem to like that. Been stuck in. Although looking through, I think I saw one. There was 5 Sekiwakes at one basho.
If you go back to 23, I think they were sitting around 3 and 4 Sekiwakes back in early 23, I think. Something like that, without just off the top of my head. But anyway, we'll move on. Wakataka Kage, let's speak of him. 9 and 6. Komosubi is likely possible, outside probability of Sekiwake. Look, he was improved, but I really did have a little bit higher expectations for Wakataka Kage over the last few tournaments, on the basis that what I saw from him when he was up previously, say September, he Junyu showed 12 and 3, and then he's just seems to have dropped off a bit in January. As Goose says, it is a combat sport. Some days a diamond, some days a stone. I really do see him as a high performer.
Yeah, I do too. The only thing is that, he did lose a lot of 2023 to that injury.
Yes.
Which was really a sadness issue, because he was Sekiwake, and then on the next to last day of 2023 he goes Fusen, and then he is out for the next 3 bashos, and he's back down to Makushita. But he bounces right back up at it. I agree. He's a guy I look at that should be better than a 7, 8, 9, 6.
Yes.
He is a guy that can consistently, in my mind, post double-digit wins.
Yes. Interestingly, though, his first 4 days, he lost to all of the Senyaku other than Oho and Abi. So he really did get a bit of a beating in that first week from the Senyaku.
Yeah. He got the M1 curse. You get Onosato, Hoshoryu, Daisho, and Kodazakura. and Hoshoryu and Kotozakura were healthy when they went up against him. But then after that, he only had the 2 losses. One was to Takayasu. Okay, that's legit. The one that surprised me was the Oshoma loss. To lose to an M8 when you're an M1, that just doesn't make sense. And I think that's the thing that for him, if he really wants to be, in that upper level, is he has to consistently put together those 10, 11 win.
It was a funny loss, that one, too,
shows.
to Oshoma, because Oshoma, Wakataka Kage's trying a flurry of arms, and Oshoma tried the Hataki Komi head pull down, the slap down, and then tried it again. Yet Wakataka Kage kept driving forward and fell to it the third time. I was like, to me, that was like, why haven't you changed your tactic at that halfway point? You can see what he's trying to do. You're putting yourself at risk. It was a really strange tactic to me.
Yeah, it was almost like Einstein's definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing over and expect a different result. I mean...
Of all the Karasakashi this tournament from Midori Fuji, did you have one to pick out?
I'm trying to think. I think it was the one that was like 2 before Takayasu. It was a big guy. And
so
I remember
he got Shononumi Karasakashi on day 1. Now, Shononumi stopped it on him last time. Really denied him. He had a go, he got Ryuden mid-tournament, Karasakashi. Then he got Shirakuma. Shirakuma obviously just hadn't watched the tapes because it was classic and fast. The Tsukinage he got on Asakoryu, I will call that a Karasakashi because it was so close to it.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. I mean, he got such a good grab on him. I mean,
it was just but I think my favourite was, as much as I do feel for Mitakayumi, he's off to Juryo, and particularly with that loss on day 15, it was a real clear demonstration of the leverage you can get off the shoulder when someone the size of Midori Fuji can literally toss an airborne Mitakayumi with a Karasakashi throw.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Midori Fuji, okay, he's 115 kilos. All right. That's still 250 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of strength there because Midori Fuji isn't a, fat 115 kilos. He's a muscular 115 kilos. And the shoulder joint is a lot prone to damage than people think. It's easy to damage the shoulder joint. And him getting the leverage on that and starting, it's unless you are willing to have your shoulder joint dislocated, you are going to do anything and everything to get out of that, including, flipping yourself out.
I think if anyone's watched one of those medical shows where they put someone's shoulder back in place, it looks like a most excruciating activity. Moving on, Tsurinumi and Aonishiki both put themselves in really good positions for this basho. Tsurinumi finishing on 11-4, Aonishiki also finishing on 11-4 on debut. Aonishiki, he really looks like the deal, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He is solid. Everybody was making big noise about him. He came right up. He's won everything coming up through, Janidan to, Sandame to Makushita, then into Juryo. It's literally Juryo. He was like, "Hi, had a cup of coffee, see ya." and everybody's going, "Oh yeah," but everybody else was also saying in the background, "Yeah, but wait till he comes up against the Makauchi. Those are the big boys. He's going to have trouble with him." No.
That probably, to me, one of the better wins he had was against Takeru Fuji. Now, Takeru Fuji, this was on day 14, came out with the big classic double chest Oshi drive on Aonishiki, and it just didn't work. Then he tried to pull the back of Aonishiki's head, but he was just in an upright position, and Aonishiki just drove him back. Solid win. To me, that was a really impressive Oshidashi win there to absorb the power hit of Takeda Fuji.
Well, and especially from a guy who has been documented of having a 230 kilo bench press. I mean, that is a hard hit. I mean, we saw that. What was it? One of Takeda Fuji's earlier matches where literally, I mean, I'll just use he yeeted the guy out of the ring. I mean, it wasn't just a shove. It was like he launched him. And the only thing I had seen earlier in Anishiki when he was doing his Juryo matches is he had that tendency to get real low. And I thought, okay, you're not Ura, but he's gotten away from it. Yes, he likes to get in, get his head underneath the chin, but he's doing it from a position of where he's got good balance. He's not so far forward over his feet. I think, again, he is a bright young star. I could see that, he could be as high as M8, more likely in the M9, maybe M10 range for the next Basho, which is great considering that, he came in at M15. And I could see that by July, he might be in the Joy. Now, how high he's going to go, again, I think he has to put on more muscle, more mass, just because of the size of the guys that are now currently at the entire Joy. I mean, you just look how big all of those guys are. They're huge.
Yeah. Probably a funny one for me, Shishi, the other Ukrainian, getting 9 and 6. Look, that is really ugly sumo. There's nothing pretty about it, is there?
No, in fact, it's a good thing that we're a family-friendly show here.
Yeah. I think the thing that gets me is it just looks really awkward. It looks like there's no balance. It looks like his feet aren't moving. And that was what happened last time he came into Makuuchi. His footwork was just awful. I mean, if he tried to Henka Hakuoho, but it was the slowest, ugliest, most awkward Henka I've ever seen. And Hakuoho just obviously Yorikiri'd him as a result. So, and then he tried another one the following day to Endo, but somehow recovered and got the win.
Yeah, got the win. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it hurts to watch him do sumo. But he pulled out a 9 and 6. I mean, he's locked himself into that M10 range.
And thankfully, the Shimpans have had to talk to him and said, please stop. Do what you're told at the touchy eye. Let's not have any more of the bum wiggle and the clawing, please. Let's move on.
Yeah, the butt bouncing, as I look at it, I go, hey, there's so many things about it that make you want to throw, a book at your monitor or something.
Yes,
the other part I look at is, God, his absolutely horrible stance when he gets down into the touchy eye.
It's not very low, is it? Yeah.
No, I mean, you look at the Japanese wrestlers and the Mongolian wrestlers. I mean, they come in, that butt is low. They are sloping up to the shoulders. And I mean, that's what we were taught as offensive linemen. You get your butt low. Why? So you can drive out with those legs and push into that person off of you.
Look, he comes in with that. I'm going to make a bit of a prediction. I see him failing as he goes up the Banzuke. I just think it's too awkward, not balanced enough, and I think they'll take him apart when they get some video on him.
Oh, when he goes up, if he goes up into M10, now he's going to get the bottom of the Joy, in the first week, through to the M9 guys. I mean, look at the people he's going to possibly get. I mean, he might get Ichi Yamamoto, Oshoma, Hakuoho, Tobizaru, Ura, Chuananumi, Onakatsu, Midori Fuji, Anashiki, Meisei. Life is not going to be fun for him. I think he'll bounce back down. But you know what? He's a guy that might be a salary man.
True.
He might be able just to float in that, M17 to M12 range and make a career out of it.
Yeah.
I do give him, the other thing I see with him that I don't like is he has a real lack of upper body strength.
I think that will hold him back.
Yeah, he needs to work on his upper body. I mean, he's a guy who needs to get into the weight room and really build up those arms. Yeah, and as you noted, I mean, some of the worst Henka attempts we've ever seen. You know, but
Like,
you
you're
know,
going to do a
again,
Henka. I want to see a good Henka.
yeah, he's a big guy. Do I think he's going to get better with time? Yes. Do I think it's going to be an absolutely painful journey to watch? Absolutely, yes.
A cringing journey. Someone who is not likely to be a salaryman is Jurio winner Cusano. Cusano down in Jurio 14 went 14-1, which is a very impressive tournament win in Jurio from Nihon University. So he came in at the base of Makushita. He's from Kumamoto, like one of my little Jonathan boys I follow, Najima. He is also has been the Tsukibito of the Yokozuna who just retired, Terunofuji. So he's spent a lot of time wrestling the Yokozuna, which has obviously stood him in good stead.
Yes, and he is very fast track. I mean, going 14-1 to Yusho at the Jurio level and only his sixth Basho, that's about as fast as Onosato coming up. And you bring up a good point. I mean, being part of the Isagahama Beya, it cannot hurt. I mean, the level of competition you go up against every day in practice. The other thing too is some people are going to say, well, he was a new guy. He was the bottom guy in Jurio. He got to face a lot of low-level guys, for the first week. And then they started moving him up. I mean, he beat some very competent Jurio wrestlers who have Makauchi experience, on his path to victory. And right now, with the way, again, trying to predict what the Banzuke will actually do, who knows? But if you apply some math and logic, he should be J1 West for the next Basho and at worst J2 East. He could
actually end up in Magashira 18.
Yeah. Be real outside. It depends whether they want to take one of the two guys who right now maths down to borderline of being demoted. Or they say, no, we take the four who definitively have earned promotion. And, I also looked at when Takara Fuji came flying up, he had a really good Yusho when he was in Jurio, but they didn't move him up into Makauchi right away. They moved him up, I think, to like J3 and then brought him up. But I could expect that we could see this young man in Makauchi in July.
Certainly if he ends up in Jurio 1, he'll probably get a chance to fight in Makuuchi in the May tournament anyway. If someone goes Kyujo, I think we'll lose, obviously, Nishiki Fuji. He's had enough chances. He's likely to be on the Jurio barge, as is White Bear, Shirokuma, Asakoryu, and most unfortunately, Mitsukaumi. They are the four that are most likely to fall. Do you see anyone else dropping out?
Actually, I see Asakoryu hanging on by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, that's possible.
He actually maths out he would be number 19. I see Takara Fuji as being the one who's probably more likely to get dropped because he maths. I mean, he had a 312. He had a horrible basho. He maths out to 21. And he's not getting joy protection or anything like that. No. Yeah, Nishiki Fuji injury, just can't do anything about it. He's going to go down.
He's had a few chances as well.
Yeah, Shirokuma, just, you can't go 5'10" at M17 West and expect to stay up. But again, this is the Banzuke. Yeah, I could see where they say, Asakoryu, welcome back to Jurio. Kusano, welcome to Makauchi.
all these sort of permutations can happen. What I can whinge about this tournament, I will have a whinge, is obviously the Osaka sumo crowd were running the oyakatas because whoever was in the replay room doing the kimarite calls, if you want to see the level of frustration as I'm looking at these kimarite going, how in hell did you get that out of that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, oh,
Yeah. 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 Oh gosh. Yeah. 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 If you guys want to see something interesting, when Goose posts up the the videos of the 15 days, just go look at the chat and see Clayton's. Oh, the one that got me was when the both guys almost fell out backwards, and they called what was it, a frontward push or something like
they
that?
called it an Oshi Taoshi frontal pushdown. Now, look, to be fair, I went back and watched that fight in extreme slow motion a number of times. Then I tried to look at what Kimarite could possibly come from it. And look, to be fair to the Oyakata, I couldn't necessarily find another one that fit because it was like a joining hit as they deflected off each other. So I was like, okay, I as much as that one drove me nuts, I couldn't honestly find another Kimarite for it.
Right. Yeah. It just
But it still stunned me.
yeah. And now you did ask me one thing about my favorite Kimarite.
Yes.
It's Ura's backflip. And the reason for it is okay. One, it's spectacular to see, but when you realize he is getting down and he is putting a 350-pound guy on his, basically stressing his back with that move. I mean, that's a Greco-Roman move. But, to do that with someone that heavy and to make it work, wow, what a fun one to watch.
It is quite the move. That is the Tsu Seizori, which is probably one that he's brought about and he's pulled off more than a couple of times this time. It's the underarm forward body drop, executed by shifting your opponent's arm around and twisting behind their back and down. So basically, it's almost like a backwards body drop. Not quite the kimono string drop, which I think you actually lift your opponent up on your shoulders and drop them back. The Tsu Seizori, it is quite the move. He did fail. He's tried it on Wakamoto Haru twice and failed. It amazes me that he got it to Takayasu in January.
Yeah, considering how big Takayasu is. I mean,
big boy.
That's a big guy.
That's quite a stunning move. Well, Ron, this has been fascinating. I thank you very much for joining me. I'm sure we'll talk again at the next Basho on Sunday Morning Sumo, where we both join off the couch on occasion for the Basho as Goose and JJ invite us on. I hope you enjoyed tonight. A different voice, someone to talk sumo. I hope you enjoyed, Ron.
Yes, I did. Yeah, this is fun. I really enjoy your perspective because, I mean, you have so much knowledge about the sport, and the fact that you take the time to actually document what's going on and can talk from a position of knowledge and not just speculation, which many of us are. I do have one last thing I want to say. So if you want to say your whinge, I want to say my whinge.
Yes, go for it.
JSA, get either a highlight video that comes out within an hour after the match is ending, or you and Abema get your act together and get a worldwide presentation like F1 does. You've got a great sport there, and you're not doing enough to popularize it. And if you do, you're going to increase the salaries of your guys significantly.
I think everyone agrees with that. Anyone outside Japan agrees with that. Look, I am extremely lucky. I have Japanese friends, and I can actually watch the NHK feed as well, which is actually a really good feed. They have an English version, but you must be in Japan. You must have a Japanese account. That makes it incredibly difficult. There is an Abema app. There is the Grand Sumo app on your phone, which is actually a JSA one, which has a paid app, and if you pay for that, you can get every video back to 2010. I think I worked out the other day something like 28,000 bouts back to 2010 on replay on that app. But again, some form of even like a paid for service. People, I'm sure, would love to watch it paid for live if they had good commentary, good access.
Yeah, well, you and I are both big F1 fans. I mean,
Yeah.
I pay, my $90 a year for the F1 Access app, and I get to watch all the practices. I get to watch all the races, and within half an hour of the race, a race being over, a practice being over, there is a highlight video. I will
Yes.
say the JSA highlight videos are good. I like watching them, and I agree. The English language commentators that go with them are very good, but it's hit or miss.
Yes. Yes.
Some days you get it the next day, and sometimes it's 4 days later before you see that day's highlight video. And that's why I say it's obvious they have the crews there, they have the tape. It's just a lack of professionalism of saying, okay, you have a revenue stream you can really jump into if you would just stop being parochial.
Yes, that is a very much a conversation we could go very deep into, and one for
Yes.
next time, Ron. Excellent. Thank you
Yep.
for joining me. I really enjoyed our chat tonight. I'll see you on the Sunday Morning Sumo Show next time. Thank you all for joining us here on the Let's Learn Sumo channel. Hakioi, Let's Learn Sumo.